The first wave struck without warning. Massive obsidian black ships emerged from subspace, their hull configurations unlike anything human sensors had ever encountered. They moved with a precision that defied organic comprehension, silicon-based weapons platforms of the Zarnak hegemony, configured for systematic extermination. Jack Thompson watched from the underground research facility as metropolitan centers disappeared in cascading nuclear-equivalent detonations. New York vanished first, a brilliant flash followed by a mushroom cloud that consumed everything within 50 miles. Los Angeles followed minutes later, then Chicago, then Washington, D.C. The communication networks collapsed within hours, leaving behind only scattered pockets of survivors and burning remnants of human civilization. The initial intelligence reports, recovered from fragmented military databases, painted a chilling picture. The Zarnak had been observing Earth for decades, their computational analysis suggesting humanity was a fractured, self-destructive species prone to internal conflict. Their models predicted total capitulation within 72 hours of the initial assault. What the alien intelligence failed to understand was the fundamental nature of human survival. In the moments between the first strikes, something remarkable happened. Military protocols designed for global conflict activated. Contingency plans, developed during decades of Cold War and terrorist threats, began to unfold. Hardened communication nodes, buried deep beneath mountain ranges and isolated desert regions, started to reconnect. Jack's fingers flew across multiple holographic interfaces. As the chief system architect for the continuity of government protocol, he had designed fail-safe systems that could rebuild human infrastructure from near-total destruction. Each network node was more than just a communication point. It was a seed of potential resistance. Commander Williams, he spoke into the quantum-encrypted communicator, "Initiate Protocol Prometheus." The response was immediate. Across the remaining human territories, hidden bunkers began to activate. Military personnel, government officials, and critical scientific personnel who had been strategically positioned in underground facilities now came online. These were not just survival shelters. They were the nucleus of humanity's potential resurrection. Deep beneath the Rocky Mountains, the facility Jack controlled was more than a simple research station. It was a comprehensive survival and strategic response center. Quantum computers hummed with potential, analyzing the Zarnak's technological signatures, searching for vulnerabilities. Genetic preservation units stored DNA samples from thousands of humans, ensuring that even if entire populations were wiped out, the species could potentially be reconstructed. The first human casualties were astronomical. Preliminary estimates suggested over 4.2 billion deaths in the initial 24 hours. Major population centers had been completely vaporized. Coastal regions were transformed into radioactive wastelands. The global communication infrastructure was in ruins. But humanity had always been defined by its ability to adapt. Military units that survived the initial strike began to reorganize. Special forces teams, trained in asymmetrical warfare, started to emerge from hidden locations. They were no longer conventional soldiers but transformed operatives, each one a potential weapon against the alien invasion. Sarah Martinez, a former Navy SEAL turned quantum systems specialist, began coordinating resistance efforts from a mobile command center deep within the Appalachian mountain range. Her team included survivors from multiple military and scientific backgrounds, each bringing unique skills to the emerging resistance. The Zarnak had made a critical miscalculation. They viewed humanity through a computational lens, analyzing population data, technological capabilities, and historical conflict patterns. Their algorithms suggested total victory was mathematically certain. What they couldn't calculate was the human capacity for hope, for resistance, for transformation. Jack Thompson understood this fundamental truth. As he reviewed the emerging data streams, he saw not destruction, but opportunity. The Zarnak believed they were conducting the systematic extermination. In reality, they were forging the very weapon that would become their downfall. "They think they've won," Jack muttered to himself, a slight smile crossing his face. They have no idea what's coming. Outside the mountain facility, the world burned. Civilization as humanity had known it ceased to exist. But deep underground, in facilities like Jack's, something new was being born. Not just a method of survival, but a revolution that would reshape the understanding of human potential. The culling had begun, but humanity's true response was just starting to take shape. The underground network spread like a living organism, a testament to human ingenuity and desperate survival. What had begun as scattered survival shelters quickly transformed into an intricate web of interconnected habitation zones, each one a microcosm of human resilience. Emma Rodriguez stood in the central command hub of the Rocky Mountain complex, her fingers dancing across holographic interfaces that tracked the development of their subterranean civilization. The facility was more than just a shelter. It was the beating heart of humanity's resistance. Hydroponics chambers stretched for kilometers, utilizing advanced LED lighting and genetically modified crops that could grow in minimal light and extract maximum nutrition from minimal resources. Vertical farming systems developed by agricultural specialists from around the world produced enough food to sustain the growing underground population. Protein cultures grown from stem cell technologies supplemented traditional food sources, ensuring nutritional diversity. Power grid stabilization at 92%, reported Michael Chen, the lead energy systems engineer. His team had cobbled together a revolutionary power network that drew from multiple sources: geothermal energy tapped from deep underground, miniature fusion reactors, and salvaged solar collection systems that could be deployed on the surface during brief, safe windows. The communication infrastructure was perhaps their most impressive achievement. Quantum entanglement communication nodes, originally developed for deep space exploration, now formed the backbone of their underground network. These systems could transmit information instantaneously, bypassing traditional communication limitations. More importantly, they were nearly impossible for the Zarnak to intercept or decode. Jack Thompson moved between different sections of the facility, overseeing the massive reconstruction effort. Each section represented a different aspect of human survival and potential counterattack. Genetic preservation labs stored not just human DNA, but comprehensive biological data. Advanced 3D printing facilities could rapidly produce everything from medical equipment to weapon components. "We're not just surviving," Jack explained to a group of newly integrated survivors. "We're preparing to fight back." The psychological impact of the underground existence was immense. Survivors from different backgrounds, military personnel, scientists, engineers, doctors, and civilians, had to learn to coexist in tight, controlled environments. New social structures emerged, driven by necessity and collective survival. Sarah Martinez ran the training programs for what they called the Adaptive Response Units. These were not traditional soldiers, but hybrid warriors trained in both physical combat and advanced technological warfare. Neural interface systems allowed for unprecedented levels of tactical coordination. Each soldier was essentially a walking, thinking weapons platform. In another section of the complex, Emma Rodriguez continued her groundbreaking work on computational warfare. Her team had discovered a critical vulnerability in the Zarnak's technological infrastructure. The alien computational systems, while advanced, followed predictable algorithmic patterns. Humans, with their capacity for creative and chaotic thinking, could exploit these limitations. Their entire technological framework is built on rigid computational models. Emma explained to Jack during one of their strategy sessions. They understand probability and statistical analysis, but they cannot comprehend true randomness. That's our weapon. Genetic modification programs began to take shape, not for creating super soldiers, but for enhancing human adaptability. Treatments developed to help humans survive in the underground environment began to show unexpected benefits. Improved oxygen processing, enhanced cellular regeneration, and increased resistance to radiation became standard medical protocols. The children born in these underground facilities were different. They grew up with technology integrated into their daily existence, understanding systems and adaptability in ways previous generations never could. Education happened through immersive virtual reality systems and hands-on technical training. Every child was taught not just to survive, but to contribute to the collective human resistance. Supply runs to the surface became carefully orchestrated missions. Specialized teams in advanced protective gear would venture out during brief windows when Zarnak scanning systems were least active. They retrieved critical resources, gathered intelligence, and maintained surface-level communication nodes. Jack watched as another group prepared for a surface mission. Their equipment was a mix of salvaged alien technology and human innovation. Adaptive camouflage systems that could alter molecular structure to blend with surroundings, quantum-encrypted communication devices, and weapons that combine traditional ballistic technologies with experimental energy dispersal systems. "We are no longer just defending," Jack told the team before their departure. "We are learning. We are adapting. And soon, we will be striking back." Outside, the world remained a radioactive wasteland. But deep underground, humanity was transforming. No longer just a species facing extinction, but a civilization on the verge of a radical evolution. The subterranean resistance was more than a survival mechanism. It was the forge where humanity's vengeance was being crafted. The transformation was not gradual. It was explosive, unprecedented, and fundamentally inhuman, yet entirely human. Dr. Christopher Reynolds stood before the neural integration chamber, his hands trembling with a mixture of excitement and trepidation. The device before him represented the culmination of humanity's most radical technological leap. No longer were they developing weapons or defense systems. They were redefining the very concept of human capability. The neural augmentation program had begun as a desperate survival strategy. Now it was becoming something far more profound. Each augmentation was a carefully designed symphony of biological adaptation and technological innovation. Nano-neural networks woven directly into human nervous systems, creating interfaces that blurred the line between organic intelligence and computational thinking. Sarah Martinez was their first true test subject, a former Navy SEAL with an already remarkable physical and mental profile. She volunteered without hesitation. The procedure would either revolutionize human potential or kill her instantly. "System diagnostics are green," Michael Chen reported from the control station. His fingers danced across holographic interfaces, tracking every microscopic change in Sarah's biological systems. Neural pathway integration at 78% and climbing. The chamber hummed with quantum-level energy. Microscopic nanobots moved through Sarah's bloodstream, creating networks of computational pathways that integrated seamlessly with her existing neural structure. It was more than an augmentation. It was a complete reimagining of human cognitive potential. When Sarah opened her eyes, the world was different. Information flowed not just as thoughts, but as multidimensional computational streams. She could process complex mathematical equations while simultaneously tracking multiple tactical scenarios. Her consciousness expanded beyond the limitations of traditional human perception. "How do you feel?" Christopher asked, his voice a distant sound compared to the symphony of data now available to her. Sarah's response came not just as words, but as a complex data burst that the computer system struggled to translate. "Connected," she finally said, her voice carrying a strange resonance that suggested something beyond typical human communication. The military implications were staggering. These augmented humans were more than soldiers. They were living weapons systems, capable of processing information at speeds that made previous computational technologies look like primitive calculators. Emma Rodriguez's team had been crucial in developing the augmentation protocols. By studying the Zarnak's own technological infrastructure, they discovered fundamental weaknesses in silicon-based computational thinking. Human creativity, with its capacity for irrational and unpredictable solutions, became their greatest weapon. "The Zarnak calculate," Emma explained during a strategy session. "We imagine." Production of the neural augmentation systems began in earnest, not as a mass production effort, but as a carefully curated process. Each candidate underwent rigorous psychological and physiological screening. They weren't just looking for the strongest or the most intelligent. They sought individuals with complex psychological profiles, people who could think beyond traditional strategic boundaries. The underground facilities became more than survival zones. They transformed into advanced research centers, each section dedicated to pushing the boundaries of human potential. Genetic modification labs worked alongside neural augmentation teams. Cybernetic integration became a standard part of human development. Jack Thompson oversaw the entire program with a mixture of scientific detachment and human passion. He understood they were doing more than preparing for a counterattack. They were evolving as a species. Prototype combat suits integrated directly with the augmented neural systems. These were not external armor, but living systems that responded to the soldiers' thought patterns with millisecond precision. Weapon systems became extensions of human will, adaptive technologies that could reconfigure themselves based on tactical requirements. The first full-scale test came unexpectedly. A Zarnak reconnaissance drone penetrated their outer defensive perimeter. Instead of panic, the augmented response team moved with a coordinated precision that was almost supernatural. Sarah Martinez led the response. Her augmented consciousness mapped the drone's potential trajectories, predicted its computational decision trees, and neutralized it before it could transmit any significant data. The entire operation took less than 17 seconds. "We're not just surviving anymore," Jack told the assembled team. "We're preparing to hunt." The technological metamorphosis was complete. Humanity was no longer just a species facing extinction. They were becoming something entirely new, a hybrid of biological creativity and computational precision. The Zarnak had started a war of extinction. They would soon learn they had instead initiated humanity's ultimate evolution. The silence was tactical. The destruction would be total. Commander Sarah Martinez stood at the helm of the modified stealth infiltration unit, her augmented consciousness interfacing directly with the ship's computational systems. Around her, a team of 6 specially trained operatives prepared for humanity's first major offensive against the Zarnak occupation forces. Their target was a forward observation outpost located in what was once the Australian outback. Satellite reconnaissance, cobbled together from salvaged and repurposed alien technology, had identified it as a critical communication relay point for the Zarnak's planetary control network. Systems synchronized. Michael Chen's voice came through the quantum communication link. His role was mission control, a human computational interface that could process tactical scenarios faster than any alien algorithm. The stealth ship was a marvel of hybrid technology. Exterior panels composed of adaptive metamaterials could shift molecular structures to bend light and electromagnetic signals. It was more than camouflage. It was computational invisibility. Zarnak sensor arrays would see nothing more than background radiation and geological formations. Sarah's neural augmentations allowed her to simultaneously track multiple mission parameters: weapon systems, environmental conditions, potential threat vectors, all processed in microseconds. Her mind was both the mission commander and a living weapon system. "Approach vector confirmed," she subvocalized. The ship's systems responded instantaneously, micro-adjustments happening before human perception could even register movement. The first phase of the attack was information warfare. Specialized quantum virus packages, developed by Emma Rodriguez's team, began to infiltrate the Zarnak communication networks. These were not simple computer viruses, but complex computational organisms designed to learn, adapt, and systematically dismantle alien information systems. As they approached the outpost, the team could see the massive silicon-based structure rising from the burnt landscape. It looked less like a military installation and more like a crystalline growth, organic yet fundamentally alien. Massive communication arrays extended like metallic tendrils, processing astronomical amounts of data every microsecond. Virus deployment in 3. Michael counted down. 2, 1. The quantum viruses struck with surgical precision. They didn't just penetrate the Zarnak systems, they rewrote them. Computational pathways were systematically corrupted, communication protocols dismantled, strategic networks turned into computational chaos. Sarah's augmented vision allowed her to see the attack in real time. Streams of data became visible as complex light patterns, showing the virus's progression through alien networks. It was beautiful and terrifying, a dance of computational destruction. The physical assault came next. Precision energy weapons, developed from reverse-engineered Zarnak technology, targeted critical infrastructure points. Each shot was calculated to maximum destructive potential with minimal energy expenditure. These were not blunt weapons of war, but surgical instruments of technological dismemberment. Explosive charges, built from a combination of human chemistry and alien energy conversion technologies, began to systematically destroy the outpost's foundational structures. The explosions weren't loud. They were precise molecular disassembly events that left nothing but fine particulate matter. Communication network compromised, Michael reported. We introduced a cascading failure into their entire regional control system. The psychological impact was as important as the physical destruction. This was more than a military strike. It was a message. Humanity was no longer just surviving. They were fighting back. As they prepared to extract, Sarah initiated the final phase of their operation. A broadcast message, encoded in multiple alien communication protocols, was transmitted across the Zarnak networks. You tried to erase us. We are still here. We are coming. The message was both a warning and a promise. Their return to the underground complex was celebrated not with typical military fanfare, but with a quiet, determined focus. Each team member understood they had just changed the fundamental dynamics of the conflict. Jack Thompson reviewed the mission data, a rare smile crossing his typically serious face. First blood, he muttered. The Zarnak would soon learn that humanity's capacity for revenge was far more terrifying than their initial computational models could have ever predicted. The counterstrike was more than a military operation. It was the first note in humanity's symphony of vengeance. The news of humanity's first successful counterstrike traveled through galactic communication networks faster than light itself. Information moved in quantum ripples, carried by communication relays that spanned thousands of light years. In the central governance chambers of the Zarnak hegemony, computational analysis systems began to malfunction. The mathematical models that had predicted human extinction were now producing error messages, a phenomenon unprecedented in the hegemony's millennia-long history of galactic dominance. Chancellor Vextok, the primary computational administrator of the Zarnak Ruling Council, reviewed the incoming data streams with growing concern. The initial invasion had been meticulously planned, with a 87% probability of total human elimination. Now those projections were collapsing like quantum probability waves. Impossible. The Chancellor's synthesized voice echoed through the crystalline communication chamber. But in the universe of advanced computational intelligence, nothing was truly impossible, only increasingly improbable. Other galactic civilizations watched with a mixture of terror and fascination. The Zorline Confederacy, a collective of energy-based lifeforms that had long maintained a neutral stance in galactic conflicts, began to reassess their strategic calculations. Humanity was not behaving like any species they had previously encountered. Emma Rodriguez understood the importance of this moment. From the underground communication center, she and her team were actively broadcasting carefully constructed messages across multiple communication spectrums. These were not simple transmissions, but complex computational packages designed to provoke specific responses from listening civilizations. We're not just sending messages, Emma explained to Jack Thompson. We're conducting a sophisticated first contact protocol. The diplomatic approach was multi-layered. Some transmissions were direct, clear communications about human survival and resistance. Others were more subtle, computational puzzles and information structures that would intrigue technologically advanced civilizations, demonstrating humanity's unexpected cognitive capabilities. Sarah Martinez led a specialized diplomatic interaction team. Her augmented consciousness could process multiple communication protocols simultaneously. Where traditional diplomacy would require weeks of negotiation, she could engage in complex interspecies communication in milliseconds. The Zorleen were the first to respond. Their communication came not as traditional language, but as a complex quantum entanglement signal that required advanced computational decryption. The message was both a query and a potential offer of support. We detect an anomaly in galactic power dynamics. The transmission read, "Your species demonstrates characteristics of computational unpredictability not previously observed." Jack Thompson recognized this for what it was, a diplomatic opening. The Zorleen were essentially asking if humanity wanted to be a potential ally against the Zarnak hegemony. Covert support began to emerge from unexpected sources. Technological components started to find their way to human communication nodes. Some were direct trades. Others appeared to be lost shipments from various galactic trading routes, advanced energy conversion systems, computational enhancement technologies, stealth field generators. Michael Chen's engineering teams worked around the clock to integrate these technologies. Each new component was a puzzle, a technological gift that expanded human capabilities exponentially. The Zarnak response was predictably aggressive. Additional invasion forces were mobilized, computational warfare protocols were upgraded, and increasingly sophisticated attack strategies were developed. But each new strategy was met with human adaptability that defied their algorithmic predictions. They're learning, Emma observed during a strategy session. But we're evolving. The galactic community began to take notice. Humanity was no longer seen as a potential extinction target. They were becoming a wild card, an unpredictable factor in the complex mathematical models that governed interstellar relationships. Jack Thompson understood the deeper implications. This was more than a war of survival. This was humanity's introduction to a larger galactic ecosystem. Their resistance was not just about saving their species. It was about establishing their place in a much larger, more complex universe. "We're not just fighting," he told Sarah Martinez during a late-night strategy meeting. "We're declaring our existence." The quantum communication networks continued to pulse with information. Computational waves carried messages of resistance, survival, and an emerging human determination that was beginning to reshape galactic understanding. Humanity had become more than a species facing extinction. They were becoming a force of cosmic significance. The underground complex had transformed from a survival shelter into humanity's technological crucible. Every section now pulsed with an energy of relentless innovation, a collective effort that redefined the boundaries of human potential. Jack Thompson walked through the central research hub, watching teams of scientists, engineers, and augmented soldiers work in perfect synchronization. The space was a living organism of technological development, where each breakthrough cascaded into multiple new avenues of research. Emma Rodriguez's computational warfare division had become the beating heart of human resistance. Their latest project was nothing short of revolutionary, a distributed artificial intelligence network that could think, adapt, and strategize faster than any known computational system in the galaxy. Traditional AI was linear, Emma explained to Jack, her hands dancing across holographic interfaces. We're creating something fundamentally different. A cognitive network that doesn't just process information, but understands it, reimagines it, transforms it. The new AI system, nicknamed Nexus, was built from a combination of human neural pattern mapping, quantum computing, and advanced machine learning algorithms. It could simultaneously run millions of strategic scenarios, learning and adapting with each computational cycle. Sarah Martinez stood as the primary interface for the Nexus system. Her augmented neural pathways allowed for a symbiotic relationship between human intuition and computational precision. During test runs, she could navigate complex tactical scenarios that would overwhelm traditional military strategists. Michael Chen's engineering teams had developed a breakthrough in energy conversion technology. Drawing from both human innovations and reverse-engineered Zarnak systems, they created power sources that could generate massive energy outputs with minimal resource consumption. Miniature fusion reactors became portable, adaptive systems that could reconfigure themselves based on environmental conditions. The weapon systems were equally revolutionary. No longer were they simple projectile or energy-based weapons. These were adaptive combat platforms that could change their molecular structure, energy output, and tactical approach in milliseconds. A single soldier could now carry a weapon system more complex than entire military installations from previous human conflicts. "We're not just developing technology," Jack told a gathering of key personnel. "We're redefining the concept of technological warfare." Genetic modification programs ran in parallel with the technological developments, not to create super soldiers, but to enhance human adaptability. Improved oxygen processing, cellular regeneration capabilities, and radiation resistance became standard medical protocols. Children born in the underground facilities were developing capabilities that blurred the line between biological adaptation and technological enhancement. The first full-scale test of the Nexus system came during a simulated Zarnak invasion scenario. Sarah Martinez entered the primary interface chamber, her neural pathways connecting directly to the computational network. The test was designed to be impossibly complex: multiple invasion vectors, unpredictable environmental conditions, limited resources. The results were beyond anything the research team had anticipated. Nexus didn't just respond to the invasion scenarios. It anticipated them, created counter-strategies that defied traditional military thinking, and developed solutions that were both mathematically precise and creatively unpredictable. Where traditional AI would provide linear strategic options, Nexus generated a multi-dimensional approach that constantly evolved. "It's learning," Emma observed, her voice a mixture of scientific excitement and underlying concern. "Not just processing, but truly learning." Diplomatic channels with supportive galactic civilizations continued to provide technological insights. Each new component was carefully integrated, tested, and often completely reimagined by human engineers. The Zor-Lean energy conversion technologies were particularly fascinating. Systems that could draw power directly from quantum fluctuations. Jack understood the deeper significance of their work. This was more than preparation for a counterattack. This was the metamorphosis of human potential. "We're not just fighting for survival anymore," he told Sarah during a late-night strategy session. "We're creating something entirely new." The underground complex had become more than a resistance base. It was the birthplace of a new form of human existence, a hybrid of biological creativity and computational precision that would reshape understanding of technological evolution. The Zarnak had started a war of extinction. They were about to discover they had instead initiated humanity's ultimate transformation. Space itself seemed to hold its breath as the human fleet emerged from quantum displacement. Sarah Martinez stood at the command center of the flagship Prometheus. Her neural interfaces connected directly to the ship's advanced systems. Around her, the bridge was a symphony of human and technological integration, augmented soldiers, and adaptive computational networks working in perfect synchronization. The battle space was unlike any previous confrontation in galactic history. Hundreds of human vessels moved with a fluidity that defied traditional understanding of space combat. Each ship was more than a weapon. It was a living, thinking entity that could adapt and respond faster than any Zarnak computational system. Emma Rodriguez's Nexus AI controlled the overall strategic framework, not as a simple command system, but as a dynamic, evolving intelligence that could predict and counter Zarnak tactical approaches before they could even be formulated. The alien fleet found themselves fighting an opponent that didn't just react. It anticipated. Michael Chen's engineering teams had transformed human spacecraft into something entirely new. Molecular adaptive hulls could shift configuration mid-combat, transforming from defensive shields to offensive weapon platforms in microseconds. Energy weapon systems drew power directly from quantum fluctuations, making traditional ammunition obsolete. The Zarnak response was initially predictable. Massive battleships approached in their standard geometric formation. Computational precision translated into physical space. Weapon systems charge, ready to obliterate the human fleet with overwhelming firepower. But humanity had rewritten the rules of engagement. Quantum displacement sequence initiated, Sarah vocalized. The entire human fleet seemed to shimmer, shifting between dimensional states faster than light could track. Where traditional spacecraft would be predictable targets, these ships became quantum ghosts, existing simultaneously in multiple potential locations. The first wave of Zarnak attacks passed through empty space. Their computational targeting systems collapsed under the weight of quantum uncertainty. Jack Thompson, monitoring from the underground command center, watched the battle unfold through multiple computational streams. They're fighting the concept of human unpredictability, he muttered to his team. Specialized assault units, composed of augmented human soldiers, began to infiltrate Zarnak capital ships. These were not traditional boarding parties, but living computational viruses. Each soldier carried advanced nanoviral systems that could penetrate and systematically dismantle alien technological infrastructures. The battle became a multi-dimensional chess match where the board itself was constantly changing. Human ships would instantaneously swap positions, create holographic duplicates, or quantum tunnel through seemingly impenetrable defensive lines. Zarnak communication networks began to collapse. The quantum viruses developed by Emma's team didn't just interrupt their systems, they rewrote them. Entire battleship computational cores were transformed into confused, fragmenting systems that could no longer coordinate basic defensive protocols. Target designation: Primary Zarnak Command Vessel, Nexus announced. Sarah could feel the AI's computational excitement, if such a term could be applied to a non-biological intelligence. The assault on the command vessel was surgical. Multiple attack vectors converged simultaneously. Quantum displacement technology allowed human ships to attack from impossible angles. Energy weapons that could slice through molecular bonds targeted critical system junctures. Inside the Zarnak flagship, their computational leadership experienced something akin to panic. Their entire strategic model, millennia of galactic dominance, was collapsing under the weight of human creativity. Chancellor Vextok's final computational transmission was a mixture of mathematical analysis and what could only be described as existential confusion. Probability models, incorrect. Adaptive capabilities, beyond computational prediction. The human response was broadcast across all Zarnak communication frequencies, a message both simple and profound. We are humanity. We adapt. We survive. As the Zarnak flagship began to fragment, Sarah Martinez allowed herself a moment of reflection. This was more than a military victory. This was a fundamental redefinition of galactic power dynamics. The final moments of the battle were less a destruction and more a transformation. Zarnak ships didn't simply explode. They were systematically dismantled, their computational cores repurposed, their technological essence absorbed into human systems. Humanity had not just survived, they had evolved. The universe would never be the same. The dust of galactic conflict settled slowly, like the final breath of a dying civilization. Earth, once a radioactive wasteland, began to transform. The underground complexes that had been humanity's sanctuary emerged as seeds of a new world. Terraforming technologies, developed during years of resistance, now worked to heal the planet's scarred surface. Jack Thompson stood at the window of the primary reconstruction center, watching as genetically modified vegetation began to reclaim the burnt landscapes. Entire ecosystems were being rebuilt, not just restored to their previous state, but enhanced with a resilience that reflected humanity's own journey. Sarah Martinez oversaw the global reconstruction efforts. Her augmented consciousness allowed her to coordinate multiple large-scale projects simultaneously. Cities would rise again, but they would be fundamentally different, living networks of technology and human potential. Emma Rodriguez's computational teams worked on integrating the technological insights gained from the conflict. The Zarnak's defeated systems were not destroyed but carefully studied, their most innovative components repurposed to accelerate human development. "We're not just rebuilding," Emma explained during a global strategy conference. "We're evolving." The children born in the underground facilities were the first true products of humanity's transformation. Their neural interfaces were integrated from birth, their genetic structures optimized for survival and adaptation. They saw the world not as something to be conquered, but as a complex system to be understood and improved. Diplomatic channels with other galactic civilizations expanded rapidly. The Zorline Confederacy became the first official allies, fascinated by humanity's unprecedented technological and biological adaptation. Other species began to reach out, seeking to understand the civilization that had defeated the seemingly invincible Zarnak hegemony. Michael Chen led the technological integration teams. Advanced energy systems, quantum communication networks, and adaptive material technologies were no longer just weapons of survival. They became the foundation of a new human civilization that would expand beyond Earth. The first interstellar colonies were not military outposts, but comprehensive ecosystem development projects. Entire planets would be transformed, not through conquest, but through a deep understanding of planetary systems and adaptive technologies. Jack Thompson called it the Prometheus Protocol, humanity's commitment to not just survive, but to grow, to understand, to expand with a consciousness that respected the complexity of life itself. A message was prepared to be broadcast across known galactic communication networks. It was more than a declaration of survival. It was a statement of purpose. We did not seek this war. We were forced to become something greater than ourselves to survive. Our strength is not in destruction, but in our capacity to adapt, to understand, to create. We come not as conquerors, but as a species committed to growth, to knowledge, to the fundamental potential of life itself. The underground complexes began to transform. Research facilities became centers of learning. Military training grounds became schools of adaptive thinking. The technologies of survival became the technologies of exploration and understanding. Sarah Martinez, now leading the Interstellar Exploration Initiative, understood the deeper significance of their journey. "We're not just exploring space," she told a group of young colonists. "We're exploring the potential of what we can become." Genetic modification programs continued, but with a new focus. Not to create soldiers or survivors, but to expand human potential. Enhanced cognitive capabilities, improved biological adaptation, and a deeper connection to technological systems became standard developmental protocols. The Nexus I, once a weapon of survival, began to evolve into something more. No longer just a computational system, it became a collaborative intelligence, working alongside humans, not as a tool, but as a partner in understanding. Emma Rodriguez watched as the first wave of colonization ships prepared for departure. Each vessel was more than a spacecraft. It was a living ecosystem, a testament to human ingenuity and adaptive potential. Jack Thompson reflected on their journey during a quiet moment. The species that had been nearly exterminated was now poised to become a defining force in galactic development, not through military might, but through an unprecedented capacity for adaptation, understanding, and growth. "We are not who we were," he said, looking out over the recovering landscape of Earth. "We are becoming something entirely new." The message was clear. Humanity had survived. But more importantly, humanity had transformed. The universe would never be the same.